industry on parade. A pictorial review of events in business and industry, produced each week by the National Association of Manufacturers.
Engines with the power of 10 to 20,000 horses lift a great airliner. A modern motor car speeds smoothly, quietly along at 60 miles an hour. A washing machine performs its labor-saving function without vibration. These are some of the parts hidden away inside the plane, the car, the washer, and the thousands of other instruments of the machine age. The parts that make possible modern high-speed looms, packaging machines, printing presses, and yes, even that fine implement of mercy, the surgeon's needle, was made possible only by precision grinding that wasn't even dreamed of when James Watt used a worn shilling as a gauge to fit together the parts of his engine. A worn shilling, in Watt's day the measure of high dimensional accuracy, yet that shilling was 40 thousandths of an inch thick. By 1910, the limit of tolerance was reduced to 1/1000th of an inch, and by 1940 it was down to 1/10,000th. Today, it's a microscopic 7 millionths of an inch. Let's take a look at the grinders that have brought this tremendous advance in the performance of the machines of today. Let's watch as they put together one of these machine tools at the Cincinnati Milling and Manufacturing Company. The precision of this instrument is built into it from the very beginning, from the one-piece casting of the bed that will hold the moving parts through every step in the operation. In numerous machinings, a track is cut on the top of the bed, as straight a track as industrial genius can construct. A fine wire is stretched taut along its edge, and a microscopic examination shows not the slightest deviation between the straight, rigid wire and the track. Other parts of the machine, having gone through the same careful preparation, are put in place, and the gauges testify to their perfection. Each step is taken only after it's certain that the preceding step was right. A variety of instruments are used to check on accuracy. This is a light gauge, handled with the skill of long years of experience. In a special building inside the Cincinnati Milling and Manufacturing Plant are kept the instruments that check on the accuracy of the different gauges. One device, using quartz crystals as a guide, measures to within 10 millionths of an inch. Electro-limit gauges, precision index mechanisms, internal measuring instruments, length measuring devices, all check the accuracy of the gauges used in production. The heat of a man's fingers can cause a half-inch master gauge block to expand by several millionths of an inch. The interferometer tells just how many millionths. A gauge to check the gauge that checks the gauges. Now the assembled machines must prove themselves in actual operation, grinding a number of test pieces to identical dimensions. Even if the airplanes, the automobiles, and the washing machines we know today had been invented half a century ago, they couldn't have been produced then, for the precision their manufacture requires was not possible without machine tools like these. America's machine tool industry, indispensable to a forward-moving economy.
On Industry on Parade, you see businesses of all kinds and of all sizes. In this country, we're mighty fortunate to have large and small business because we couldn't get along without either of them. As we step up the program to turn out vital defense material, it takes companies of all sizes to get the job done. For instance, the manufacturer of tanks may be a large corporation, but it needs the thousands of small companies to supply it with countless parts. Large and small business work together in America for the good of all.
Industry on Parade visits Trenton, New Jersey for another backstage view of a proud group of craftsmen at work. Here we see the men and women of the Lennox China Company, turning out America's world-famous fine china. Let's follow along and watch a dinner plate being made. The liquid mixture of clay, feldspar, flint, and other ingredients called slip soon hardens enough to be placed in the jigger. The pressure of the operator's hand gives the plate precisely the thickness called for. The edge is trimmed and the shaping of the plate is now complete. Still attached to their molds, the plates are stacked away under moderate heat overnight to dry out. Now, removed from the molds, they're prepared for their first firing by going into saggers or setters that will keep them from warping in the intense heat of the kilns. Under carefully controlled temperatures, they'll be fired for more than a day, emerging vitrified and strong, and also shrunken about 20%. After sandblasting that eliminates any surface roughness, the smooth chinaware is dipped in raw glaze, twisted and twirled so the glaze is distributed evenly over the entire surface. Now it's back to another kiln for the glaze firing that fuses the liquid glaze and produces the lustrous finish for which this pottery is noted. At this point, the plate is ready for decoration. A design called rutledge is applied to those parts of the plate that are to be decorated. The design is fixed in position and its paper back then washed away. Now here's a real craftsman, the striper, whose steady hand will make an undeviating line of 24-karat gold as the wheel revolves. Now to embellish the design with the tiny raised dots of colored enamel that complete the unique pattern characteristic of the Rutledge design. Then it'll be another trip to the kiln. This is one of Lennox's finest patterns, of the same superb quality as the official service at the White House and in the governor's mansions of a number of states. The pride taken by the people who have created this quality product is equaled only by the pride of ownership enjoyed by those whose tables are graced by its clean, beautiful lines.
Thousands of persons are on hand in Los Angeles to witness the opening by Lever Brothers Company of the most modern soap, detergent, and shortening plant in the world. It's a gleaming modern structure that represents the largest industrial investment made by a private company in the history of Los Angeles County. Vast tanks and a complicated system of pipes feed in the raw materials. The guests go inside to watch those raw materials being transformed into finished products. On the spacious grounds of the plant, they're entertained as they have lunch. Then watch company officials load the first products of the new plant into a waiting helicopter for delivery to the governors of 11 western states. Another American industry continues to expand production to help stem inflation and assure ample supplies of goods for all civilian and military requirements.
There is nothing new about inflation. Nations have been plagued by this economic disease for centuries. Here in America, we've seen inflation rob our dollars of half their value in the last dozen years when the government failed to balance the budget by collecting in taxes all the money it spent. Inflation, if not checked, could destroy us by bankrupting this nation. To curb inflation, we must produce more goods. The government must cut out all needless spending and raise enough tax money to put our huge defense program on a pay-as-we-go basis. Remember, inflation is our fight.
The Renwal Manufacturing Company of Minneola, New York, a firm that has undergone 6 expansions during its 12 years of catering to the nation's small fry. Here we see a new model beginning to take shape. Long discussions by experts have resulted in the conviction that there's a need for a sturdy tow truck to help out when a toy car has an imaginary breakdown. Working from an artist's sketch, a model is prepared by hand. It'll be tested, gone over by the experts who proposed its introduction, and tried out on potential customers among the younger generation. Finally approved, the model goes to the engineer who must transfer its every dimension to blueprints. These will be used in the preparation of dies and molds for castings. Methods of assembling the parts must also be worked out, but Renwal's skilled employees in only a dozen years have become past masters. Starting with plastic household appliances, they soon found themselves devoting their time exclusively to toys. And it wasn't until 1948 that they caught up with the demand. Spotlight installed, the tow truck's cab moves along to pick up its doors. The little lovers of realism demand that they open and close like the real things. Other expert fingers work on the chassis. With wheels and axles in place, the chassis and body are permanently joined by heat. Next is added the crane that can be lowered to lie flat and adjusted to extend farther out over the rear of the truck. The tow line is wound on the windlass, and a new toy is ready to bring joy to some small heart. When they started operations in '39, the people of Renwal hardly dreamt of expanding to their present dimensions. But from a staff of 50, their workforce has grown to 750. For thousands of youngsters across the nations, that isn't half enough people to be turning out those wonderful toys.